Hey guys, it's Miss Megan with another wilderness survival recording video. Today we're going to talk about signaling and the importance of knowing how to signal if you get lost in the wilderness. But first, I'd like to do a little review from our last video. Our last video we talked about food and water, how to filter water, and where to find food and how long we can live without those things. So I told you about a very important rule, the rule of three. So let's review that rule of three first. So if we by chance get lost in the wilderness, we can live 3 hours in extreme weather, rather heat or cold. We can live 3 days without water and 3 weeks without food. So if we do get lost, the most important thing we should do first is find or build a shelter. Then we've got to find and look for water and filter it, and then we got to worry about our food, right? So I want you to make sure you repeat those things or try to remember them every couple days, because we need to get those things stuck in our mind. So if you ever do get lost, you just automatically will do those things. Okay? So last week I challenged you to do something. Challenged you to find 2 things that grow by you that are edible. So I took that challenge myself and I started looking around. And one thing that grows a lot by me and by I'm sure all of you guys are dandelions. Now you might have them in your yard. Maybe your job in the summertime is pulling up those dandelions so they don't grow in your grass. Um, they grow a lot of places, and including they grow up on the mountains and in the wilderness, and those are edible. So if you're hungry enough, that might be a good option for you. And the other thing is something I told you last week that was really important, and that was cattails. And I showed you what they looked like. Those grow all around us, and those are so important because they're edible. Now, I also taught you how to play a game last week, and I hope you've had fun this week playing that with your family. So today we're going to talk about signaling and the importance of knowing how to signal before you go out on hikes or camping or anything. So let me share with you my screen on wilderness survival signaling. Okay. Sometimes it takes just a minute. There we go. Gotta click the right buttons. Even for teachers, this can get confusing. Okay, so signaling. Okay, so the beginning of every class, we repeat our be prepared motto. So go ahead and say it with me. Don't go alone. We always go with somebody if we're going to go out in the wilderness. We need to tell someone where we are going and when we expect to return. We need to have a plan and stick to your plan. Otherwise, rescuers won't know where to look for you. We should check the weather before we go and make sure we're dressed accordingly. We should take proper gear and some extra supplies for emergencies. Last week we said that we should always take extra food and water with us. We should take our survival kits. We should be a part of the planning. We should review maps and guides of the area to learn about the roads, streams, features, trails, weather, animals, and other possible dangers. And we should always look for a couple things that grow around there that are edible. We talked about that last week. The next thing that we always repeat is our good stop sign. Now, if you find that you are lost, you must stop, think, observe, and plan. So, because we repeat these every week, we must know that they're important, right? Yeah. So signaling. Okay, first things first, what does signaling mean? You know, when you think of signaling, you might think of riding in the car with your parents and, they turn their signal on, their blinker, and it tells the other cars which way they're going. That's not quite what we're going to talk about today. The definition for signaling is doing everything you can to get the attention of people that would be able to help you. So, more or less, you're just going to do whatever you can to draw attention to yourself so that people can find you. So, if you find that you are lost, your first idea might be to yell for help. This can work, but only if someone's close by you. Yelling takes a lot of your energy, and eventually you're going to lose your voice if you yell for long enough. So, it's really important that we conserve our energy and save our voice and not just yell and scream for days. So, a whistle is a much better choice. Blowing on a whistle takes less energy and the sound can be heard far away. This whistle that's on this PowerPoint here, it's a special wilderness whistle. So it's super loud, it has a rope you can hang around your neck, and it also has a compass. So it can be two things in one. So if you find that you're lost, you're going to blow 3 blasts on your whistle. Now, then you're going to pause and you're going to listen for a response. If you don't hear anything, you're going to blow 3 more blasts. Pause and listen. There's that number 3 again. I think 3 must be a very important number when talking about wilderness survival. What do you guys think? Okay, next, cell phones. It might be a good option. Probably won't work. You might not even have a cell phone, maybe just your parents do. But depending on where you are, it won't hurt to give it a try and see if you can get it to work. Cell phones are useful in areas with coverage, but many backcountry areas are out of reach of cell phone towers. And if they're out of reach of cell phone towers, they don't work. So if possible, call 911 in the case of an actual emergency and see if you can get through. Walkie-talkies are another great option too, but only if you are in range of the person with the other walkie-talkie and that person has theirs turned on and you are both on the same channel. So that's another part of our preparation before you're going out camping or on a hike. You're going to make sure both walkie-talkies are turned on and you're on the same channel before you go. So you're going to test it out a little bit. Okay, signaling to rescuers. This is for ground to air signals. So if you're hiking, you're where? On the ground. So you're going to try to get the attention of helicopters or anybody that's up in the air. So you're going to need to make your symbols as big as you possibly can. So you'll use whatever is on hand to construct symbols that can be seen easily from the air. You could use rocks, you could use branches, pieces of bright clothing, and equipment. So we have our code symbol here. It's the letter V. That means you require assistance. You will do a letter X if you need medical assistance. And an N means no or negative. Doing a Y means yes or affirmative. And that arrow is proceed in this direction. So you're going to point that arrow to wherever you are. Now those may seem kind of confusing right there just on a chart, but these next couple slides will help you better see how you'd use them. So these people used their equipment of sleeping bags to help form different letters. So the first one, they laid out in a giant X. And so the X is saying that someone there needs medical help. Now the next picture is of the sleeping bags pointing in an arrow. And that arrow is actually showing the rescuers which way to go to find the people. Okay, SOS. This is probably the biggest one you should remember and the one you'd use. And you probably already know a little bit about it. You might have seen it done on a video before or on a TV show or heard about somebody doing an SOS. So SOS is an international code signal of extreme distress. It's used especially by ships at sea. It's an urgent appeal for help. That means it's an urgent plea for help. It's saying that we need help and we need it now. So we're going to watch a video clip of how some kayakers use the SOS signal so that they could get rescuers to find them. So if you will bear with me for just a moment, we'll get this clip going. You might see a blank stream for a minute. Don't be concerned. I'm still here. It just takes a minute for the video to load. Thinking.
All new at 10, a weekend kayaking adventure turns into big trouble as three friends end up stranded along the Gila River overnight.
Wait, just. Okay, we're going to try this again. Sorry about that. Let me get this video for us. Okay.
Turns into big trouble as three friends end up stranded along the Gila River overnight. Now they are safe thanks to the survival skills they put in action. ABC 15's Nohe Lonnegraaff just caught up with them. And Nohe, rescuers told them they did something they'd only seen twice in 20 years.
You know, Katie, they did a lot of things right. They stayed together in their group. They told somebody where they were going ahead of time, even brought basic supplies, but they were still in a remote area. So one simple move really helped rescuers pinpoint where they were. They created a giant SOS.
It's hot in the valley. There's water somewhere. We go find it.
A cool adventure. That's what Heidi Ray and their friend Kimberly were after when they hit the rapids of Gila River.
This is the one that ripped.
A few hours in, they found more than a bend in the river.
The trunk of a tree had fallen over.
All three hit it and flipped.
Right.
Ray's kayak was toast. But their experience, they doubled up in the two-man and carried on.
It was stuck. It was like impaled.
Until log number 2 speared another kayak.
I think, whoa, that was kind of scary.
9 hours on shore, suddenly Ray gets a cell phone signal and one text.
We're at such and such a place. We need help.
The original plan was to camp, but now they didn't know for how long.
Whenever you go out to have fun with your friends, rule number 1 is don't die.
So they rationed food, looked for desert food, filtered extra water, tried to catch another boater's eye.
The other kayak, we hung it in a tree.
But it was the bird's eye view that really helped.
Put a bunch of branches out, spelled SOS.
By morning, the sound of a helicopter, the sound of safety,
It was a big relief.
and the end of one wild river adventure.
That's what you come out of life with. Stories and scars.
Now, of course, looking back, there are always things that they would like to change, but here's some extra tips from rescuers for you to keep in mind. It really helps if you wear something bright and you also keep moving. That's what helps the spotters up above to really notice you. Also, these guys had a light at night, so if they had been circling, they would have seen them then. Meantime, Katie, I asked them, they do kayak frequently, so is this the end of it for them? No, of course not. They're going to do it again, just not this particular stretch of river.
Yeah, she said stories and scars, and in this case, survival, the most important part. Nohe, thank you.
Okay. Let's go ahead, get out of this. Okay. Get back to our PowerPoint. So, what did these kayakers do right? So they wore bright colored clothing. They had a light, a flashlight or a lantern that was done at night, right? They did a big SOS. And the people also said that you should wear bright colored clothing and keep on moving, and that helps the rescuers and searchers find you. Are there things they should have done differently? What do you think? What could have they done differently? Go ahead and say it out loud if you can think of something they have done differently. Well, if they were prepared, they would have saw that there was a lot of bends in that river, right? That's part of our preparedness that we recite at the beginning of class. That's one of them, that we should do our research on the water and the rivers there, right? Would you take a blow-up kayak down the rapids of a river? Oh, what would you think? Would you want to do that? I don't know if I'd want to do that, but I'm kind of chicken. Okay, let's go to our next slide here. Signaling with a mirror or a CD. So when the sun is shining, the flash of light reflected with the signal mirror can be seen for miles. Aiming it takes practice though. Sight a target through the hole of the center of the mirror or CD, or by looking just over the mirror's top edge. Hold your extended arm in line with the target and adjust the angle of the mirror so that reflected light illuminates the fingers of your hand raised in the form of a V, through which you can see the target. So we have another video that can see how it's done. Let me get back to that let me share that video with us. Let's see. Okay. There we go.
We're going to spend some time talking about signaling. And there's a lot of stuff in the survival literature that's sort of important, and there are a few things that are really important. And certainly rescue communications are really important. You need to be found. And one of the best things that you can do is to use a signal mirror. Now, in another segment, we'll be talking about using a commercial signal mirror. But today we're just going to talk about improvising a signal mirror using any old mirror. And today I happen to have a CD. It happens to be a Barry Manilow CD. So we're going to use that. It's not really Barry Manilow. Even I wouldn't stoop to that. So I can't tell you how many times I've seen pictures in survival books where they show somebody using a signal mirror. And this is what they show. They show the person with the signal mirror like this, and their hands up in the air, and they're shining the sun against their fingers, trying to hit the airplane. Well, I can assure you that the airplane that I'm sighting between my fingers is not going to be able to see this flash of light. And the reason for that is because I don't have the mirror aligned with my own line of sight. Well, it turns out that there is a great mirror, and that is a CD. And not only is it a great mirror, but it happens to have a hole drilled right through the center of it, which makes it perfect for sighting. So let's talk about how to use a CD as a signal mirror. Well, the first thing I do is I figure out where the sun is. And in this case, the sun is just right about there. And so I take the mirror and I reflect it against something that I can see. So if you're in a life raft, you reflect it against the tube. whatever you're close to, you can just reflect it. In this case, I can see the sun reflecting off of my backpack. So now I have a rough idea what the angle is going to be. So I slowly, keeping the sun on my backpack, bring the CD up to my eye. At this point, I can put my fingers out and continue to reflect the sunlight off my fingers. Maintaining that angle, I bring my fingers up into the sky and I can waggle the sunlight across my fingers and aim for the approaching rescue aircraft. Now, most of you realize this, but just using a signal mirror randomly really won't affect any rescue. A signal mirror is used once there are rescue personnel, typically a rescue aircraft, within range. At that point, you signal, and at that point, hopefully they'll see you. Now, a signal mirror really works, and a signal mirror can be seen for many tens of miles in the right conditions. Don't use it at night.
Why do you think he said don't use it at night? That's silly of me to even ask, huh? Because there's not a sun at night, so there's nothing to reflect that light off of. Okay, let me get us back to our PowerPoint. Okay, so we already answered this question, why he says don't use it at night, and we already know it's because there's no sun out at night. So it says, if done correctly, this is what a mirror signal looks like to someone on the rescue plane. See how bright that is? Isn't that amazing that quite a few miles down, oh, let me get back to that, sorry. Quite a few miles down, they can see it. It looks so big and bright from this picture, doesn't it? So if you want to ask your parents or whoever's at your house that maybe you could borrow a CD, and on a sunny day this week, go outside and practice shining that. It might be kind of fun. And it will be a good thing to know how to do. And in our emergency preparedness backpack, that's one more thing we should put in there is a CD. So how can you signal rescuers at night? We've been talking about ways we can do it during the daytime when the sun's out, but what about the night? So we're going to try to use light, right? At night, we should use a flashlight to send groups of 3 flashes. There's that number 3 again, in the direction where you believe rescuers might be able to see them. Why do you think 3 flashes? What do you think? 3 flashes. We always have the number 3. Do you think it's kind of like SOS, right? That's kind of 3 letters too. So another thing we can do is build a fire. The light from the fire can be seen from far away. This will attract the attention of rescuers. And not only will it attract rescuers, but it will also keep you warm. It'll keep animals away. It will give you light. And then you won't waste your flashlight batteries. So if you're thinking you can hear somebody or you can kind of see them, that's when you're going to grab that flashlight and do the 3. But if you do that all night, it's just going to waste your batteries and then you're not going to have it for the next day. So you're going to want to conserve that flashlight for when you really think someone's there. Just like that CD. They said not to, just shine it when you're, just to shine it in the daytime, but you're going to wait till you see somebody and shine it. Okay. So let's practice, and that's what I'm going to encourage you guys to do this week. Go outside. Hopefully it will be sunny. Ask your parents if they can help you. You can grab a flashlight. Maybe you can go out at night for a little while and practice the 3. Maybe you can borrow a CD and see if you can reflect the sun. I also have one of these. This is like a blanket, a solar blanket, and the light shines off that. anything you have that light can shine off, go ahead and practice. Maybe you could gather sticks. I'm sure your parents would be appreciative if you could gather all those sticks that fell down over the winter. Maybe you could build a big SOS. Practice that. You could always practice just standing out waving your arms, right? Blowing, if you can find a whistle, go ahead and blow that whistle 3 times, making sure it's okay with your parents first, of course. And then let me know how it worked. And you guys will be so good at signaling that that's one thing you can mark off your list of things to be prepared for. You would have already practiced signaling and know how to do it. So I hope you guys have a good, safe week. Stay healthy. We miss you. All the teachers miss you guys so bad. We want to see your smiling faces. Enjoy practicing our wilderness survival skills, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.